Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you my all-new Hot Creations Minimal Tech House tutorial. I'm going to be talking to you about a bunch of new stuff I've learned from making this style of tech house. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available at the top of the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much to everybody who goes and picks up the samples. It really helps support me. And let's dive in. Alright, so the first thing we have going on up here, we're at 128 BPM, is the bass. So as you can hear, the bass is happening across three different sounds. So what's happening is we have the main bass line. And then we have this little bass pluck and this 808 tom. And as you can hear, those just kind of play notes that are already being played by the main bass line, but it just adds a little bit more groove and a little bit more fullness to those notes. And also just a little bit more of like an accent on those notes as well. So this is the thing, because obviously the soundtrack, very simple, right? Like it's really mostly based around just the bass line and then the drums on top of that and how those can groove. So these little background sounds here, like the bass pluck and the tom, just add a lot to that bass line so that it's not just that same subby thing that you hear in every single track. But these are the way that you can kind of make your bass line have a little bit more excitement to it and feel a little bit more interesting. And the key to these really is just making sure that they play the same note that the bass line's playing. Like, that's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be playing this whole crazy pattern. Just play the exact same note that the bass line is playing in that spot. And yeah, you can hear that there. So for the main bass, this is made, I'll show you the notes first. It's really simple. So all it is just three notes. So we're in the key of G sharp minor. We have our root note, our fifth, and then the minor seventh there for some extra notes. But it's really simple, and then it's just about that like groove and also the gliding notes, like having that boom. And then for the sound, it's also really simple. This is just a square wave, which you can see I used the square 32, so it's a bit deeper. There's the bass line without any filtering. And then we're low passing it. And the idea behind this is that, you know, we could just use a sine wave or a triangle wave, right? Like, that's kind of what this sounds like. But the reason why we do this is because with the low pass filter, even though you are cutting off the mid-range and the higher frequencies, it's actually still letting through a few of them. And what's happening there is we're getting still that deep subby sound, but it's just a lot fatter and more full sounding than it would be with the sine wave. Like a lot of times when people work with sine wave basses, they try to add saturation and stuff to it to make it sound like how this just sounds naturally. So yeah, that's kind of a nice tip. Like if you want this fatter, almost sine wave bass, but it's not quite a sine wave, try taking a square wave, or you can even use a saw wave if you want, but I think square waves can be a little bit fatter. And then just taking that and filtering it down, because you get the same type of result, it's just now a lot more interesting and a lot more harmonic content. And then that's just being sidechained to the kick, and that's it for processing on that bass. And then the bass block is just a simple sound made with operator. It's just a saw wave going into a low pass, which has this envelope making it. And you can see this one we have the voices set to 1. I also had that on the main bass as well as that glide there, although this one, the pluck, doesn't have the glide. And then that's just being high pass to make it fit over top of the bass. But you'll notice, like I said, it plays the exact same notes there as the actual bass line. And then here, it's that same note, but I just put it down an octave. And then for the 808 tom here, that's dry. And usually you just want this to play one note, right? So that's just kind of like, you don't want to be jumping across the scale too much with that one. So that's the bass line. Again, you can get away with just this, but it has to be really solid bass. And then if you do go in and add these extra layers, you can hear it just adds that much more groove to the overall bass line. Then we have the kick, which is made with 2 layers. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit more about how I make my kicks. And essentially what's happening here is we have this low end layer, which so this is just a kick, and then you can see I've dragged the start time forward. And then we're taking just the lows using EQ3. And then this one, I have this like 909 kick. And then we're just taking the mids and highs from that. And then the key here is just lining up the start times. You can see that, on both of these, I've gone in and dragged it forward just a little bit. Even on this one, like that minuscule amount. So that this way they're hitting at exactly the same time. Because if you don't do that, like if you just leave it like this, and when you're working with kicks from sample packs too, these are my kicks that I've made that don't really have this problem. But kicks and sample packs start at all different times. So like if you just grab 2 different kick samples, so you get that little like it's almost like when you're mixing a track as a DJ and the starts don't quite line up. So obviously you don't really want to have that in your tracks. You gotta make sure you just line those up. And then when you do it, it magically slides into place and sounds really punchy. And then I don't have anything on the group there. And that's really just to show you, like, if you have good kicks based on good layers and you start with solid samples, you really don't need all that processing. Like, a lot of that is just kind of extra when, like, if you just have good sounds, they're not going to be fighting so much to cut through the mix. Then we have our main hi-hat, which is 2 layers, so it's this layer mostly, which you can hear adds like the punch, and then this one on top of it to just add that 909 sound. And that's the thing, because a lot of times people think that this is the main hi-hat, but if you listen to them, and if I take out the 909 hi-hat, you can see that little underneath. It's actually most of what's doing it, and then the 909 is just on there to do a little and you can see I've got that being high pass. So it's just important to keep that in mind, because if you try to go and just take this hi-hat and turn it up to be louder, you can see it messes up the whole groove. Then we have the clap. Pretty standard stuff there, just like a nice fat clap. Nice and mid-rangey. I have these hi-hats, which if I play them with that hi-hat, you can hear. So what's happening is it's 4 different hi-hats here, and then it's just this little groove created by having them all play off of each other. And this is a great way to make this, because obviously, like, it's like I was kind of saying with the bass line at the start, right? It's like, you could just have the one basic element, or you could have, like, 4 of these in this case, and just have them all play around. It's never exactly the same hi-hat twice, but then that just creates this really nice groove based on the textures of the different sounds. Like, essentially by having like these 4 hi-hats that are all going to sound a little bit different and just cycling between them, you can create a lot more interesting loop because of all the different textures and sounds that you're essentially flipping through there, versus just having one go. So we got that. Then we have this bell. You can hear it's just in there and adding a nice background kind of percussion. You can hear the groove with that one. We have these bongos as well. You can hear those kind of play with the bell. Like, this is kind of one loop. But and this is just a bunch of different bongo sounds. We have like this little percussion as well, which I'll play that with the main groove of drums, you can kind of hear. That's just filling in a bit of space. It's kind of like call and response with the bongos. And then if I take that out, you can hear. It's just kind of filling in that groove a little bit. Then we have these rolls. So these are similar to the ones you guys see me use actually in a lot of those like hard rave techno style videos where it's like these just like nice like live roll loops. So I've got that one just playing on the one, like on that first quarter note of every beat. And then this one plays right before the end there, on that last eighth note. And this is also a loop that I just took the ending of. And yeah, so it just kind of creates this nice call and response element. You know, fills out the groove nicely as well, like if I play you the full track with these. And then if I turn them off, it's kind of missing something without these. Then we have this drum rack, which just has a little bit more percussion in it. Which if I play that with the main groove. Yeah, it might seem a bit random, but again, it's just filling in that background space. And kind of like making the whole groove come together. If I turn this off, it's just another one of those things, you know, like now it feels like we're in the intro or something like that. But then when you add this in, it just gives you that last element of percussion to really make the groove feel full. Then we have the stab, which is just like this cool audio stab. You know, the thing about this type of track is it's a lot more about audio and kind of like letting that play out, right? Like we're not going to have any crazy lead synth. We're not going to have like pads or any of that kind of stuff. It's really like the MIDI is more so like for programming the audio. And even like the bass line, you know, is still more about the audio and just how it sounds and the texture rather than the actual notes that it's playing. So, you know, we don't want to just have our percussion and bass line, but essentially like the point of these 4 layers down here is to be like those extra audio layers to add the texture rather than like going and, like I said, trying to do like a synth lead or something like that. So this is just this cool stab. Nice like vintage 90s feel. I've got this slower echo on it doing quarter notes. Then we have a vocal. And really you can hear, yeah, we have 3 vocals here. So, you know, the main thing with these is just the contrast. Like, you know, flipping between like, this is like a group vocal. And then this is like a high pitched, like, kind of cool hook. Like, and then this one is just spoken word. So it's like, having those contrasting different vocal samples, I think, can really make things a lot more interesting sometimes. And that's how you make these style of tracks that seem really simple, but they ultimately, you know, feel very full and they work really well. That's what it is it's the contrast between different elements and kind of creating the groove of the drums first, and then creating this groove with the vocals and with the stabs on top of that. I can see these pretty much just have a bit of echo on them. This one's got some reverb. This first vocal has a bit of drum bus as well. And yeah, so that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available right at the top of the description on my website. This really helps support me. If you guys enjoyed these videos, definitely go pick this up because it really helps me keep going so I can keep bringing you guys new videos every single day. Plus, you get an awesome template. You know, you could go and turn this into a track and send it to any of these labels and try to get signed. But it gives you something really solid to work from and some of the best samples on the market right now, in my opinion. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.